Good evening to one and all. This video is for class 10 biology, of course, and the chapter is human evolution. As we all know, we were going through this chapter, human evolution. Now, today's topic is about Charles Robert Darwin. Last topic we learned about Lamarck, what Lamarck did, what was Lamarck postulates towards evolution. He proposed the theory of use and disuse. But now we will talk about a man who has changed the whole face of evolution. Yes, that is none other than Charles Robert Darwin, the person who has changed the face of evolution, the person who has given the theory of natural selection. And that theory is now worldwide accepted, worldwide studied. And now that theory has given the base of evolution, that how evolution has occurred, with a proper example of industrial melanism. Now, first of all, about Charles Robert Darwin. Darwin, when he was 22 years of age, at that time it was the year around 1830 to 1831, when Darwin was very much interested, he was a British naturalist, and when he was very much interested in the origin of species, when he was very much interested in the species of the living organisms like plants and animals everywhere. And he was very much interested to visit new places and discover new organisms. So what he did, when he was 22 years, at the age of 22 years, during the year 1830 to 1831, he started a voyage. He started a journey. He reached to the different places and he started to study the organisms of those places, which has given him a very much interesting things, that how the organism is changing itself. And after a 5 complete years of the voyage, 5 years of voyage, he returned to his place, and there he has not stopped. He continues his studies. He postulated different hypotheses, and finally he concluded the theory of natural selection, which he has written in his book, In the Origin of Species. So this was what about Darwin. So in his book Origin of Species, when he wrote about theory of natural selection, it was compared to Lamarck that day, because Lamarck, he has postulated his theory much before than Darwin. But when Darwin's theory of natural selection came, somewhere or the other, the theory of use and disuse were become very much fragile, very much weak. It has become very much weak in front of Darwin's, because whatever Darwin saw, whatever he has experimented, he wrote. And now his theory is worldwide accepted. I am not saying that Lamarck's theory is not at all accepted. Of course, Lamarck was the first person who has created the word evolution. He said that yes, evolution is also one of the thing which is existing. Of course it is. But the spark of evolution, but the face of evolution, what has changed the face of evolution and what has given the evolution a lot of interest, why evolution has got a lot of interest, it was done by Darwin. Now, Darwin, when he postulated his theory of natural selection, he postulated and he pointed out few instructions. First one, Darwin's theory of evolution, under it, first one, natural variation occurs within any population. According to Darwin, he said that any kind of natural variation we can see, based upon the change of the environment, based upon the change of the adaptation of a particular organism, the organisms naturally variate. The natural variation can be seen in any of the species, in any of its population. We can find the natural variation. Next, what he said, enormous fertility in living beings. It means, though a particular organism will reproduce numerous numbers of progeny, it will reproduce, but its ability to reproduce will never lose. Of course, it will lose after a certain period of time, but the organism will be continuously becoming reproductively active at a certain period of time. Till a certain period of time, the organism will be reproductively very much active. Why? Because the organisms, one species will fight with the other species for food, for shelter, of course for their prey, of course for their safety. And this will allow the organism to become reproductively very much fit. And that is the reason why till a certain period, till more than 20 or 30 years also, a particular organism will be reproductively fertile, though it is producing enormous amount of progeny, enormous progenies. Now, next one, struggle for existence. According to Darwin, the organism which is very much fit to survive at any kind of natural environment, that organism will only survive. Other organisms will die. Means the organism which will be adapted naturally will survive, and the other organisms will be no more continuing their species in the earth. Means struggle for existence. That is, the fit organism will struggle, they will survive, the unfit organism has to leave the earth. Now, the favorable variations, the changes which are very much good for a particular organisms, the changes or the variations which are very much good for a particular organism, those changes, those variations will be inherited by their offsprings also in the next generation. Like the example of giraffe is very much well understood, that the goats of the hill regions continuously tried their neck to elongate, and finally this took lot of generations, but the goat became giraffe. Why? Because the elongation of the neck has been inherited from one generation to the other generation. So this is what Darwin said, the favorable variations will be continuing to inherit from one generation to the other generation. Next, origin of species. According to Darwin, the origin of species means when the variation or changes will accumulate, when there will be lot of variation, lot of changes deposited, a formation of new organism will take place. When there will be deposition of lot of changes, when there will be a deposition of lot of variations, then automatically a formation of new species will take place. Again, the example of goat to giraffe. How the goats of the hilly regions continuously elongated their neck, and this allowed the variation and changes to accumulate, to deposit, and finally what happened? The goat has converted to giraffe. This is what the origin of species means. Now, the best example what Darwin has given about the industrial melanism and what can be studied, that is not actually postulated by Darwin, but what was studied in context to the theory of evolution, theory of natural selection. In context of the natural selection, what has been studied and what has been shown, what has been demonstrated the natural selection in a very nice way, that is the industrial melanism. Industrial means industries, we all know, factories, big companies, industries, where the continuously 24 hours the production is going on and it is emitting smoke. And melanism means change of color from white to dark. So this industrial melanism has made us understand the theory of natural selection, and this has given a well proof that what Darwin has said in his natural selection. Now, what happened in this industrial melanism? Why it is so much interesting? It is because of the moth, the butterfly-like organism but not butterfly. Butterfly-like organism but not butterfly. The moth. Industrial melanism caused by or initiated by the moth. So moth is a butterfly-like organism but not exactly the butterfly. So the moth biological name is Piston betularia or Piston betularia. Either you can use E also or you can use I also in the spelling. So you can use I also as well as you can use E also in the spelling. There is no problem. Now, what happens in the countryside of the UK, that is in London? What happened there? The peppered moth, they are naturally white in color and they are having speckled means this kind of structure in their body, speckled black. Either this or this kind of structure can also be considered as speckled. So the peppered moth are naturally white in color and they were having dark speckles in their body. So these white moths used to rest at the tree trunk. On the tree trunk they used to take rest, and the tree trunk those days, means the stem of the tree, very much broadened stem of the tree, on those trees they used to take rest. Why? Because on those trees there were lichens, and the moths used to sit over the lichens and they used to take rest. White moth. I'm not talking about black moth now. First, white moth. So white moth used to sit on those trees with the big trunk, with broadened trunk, and they used to take rest. Since the color of the lichens as well as the color of the moth matches, both are white. So what happens? These peppered white moths camouflaged. Camouflaged means a property by the help of which a particular organism hides themselves in the environment, like the chameleon. Like the chameleon outside, no? In the garden also we can see the chameleons and all. So if they are standing or if they are sitting on the green leaves, they will convert their color into green. If they are standing or sitting on the brick, they will convert their color into dark brown or red or orange, so that the predators cannot see them. So similarly, the moths, they were having the property of camouflage. Now what happened? The lichens were also white. The moths were also white. The moths sit over the lichens on the trees. And now what happens? The color of the moths matches with the color of the lichens. So these moths automatically gets camouflaged and the predators cannot catch them. But here the different thing happened. What? The black moth, when they used to sit on the tree trunk where the lichens were there. Now lichens are white and the black moths are black in color. So they are not getting camouflaged and they are easily identified their enemy and they are getting caught and they are being killed. Now the twist came. In the 19th century, when the Industrial Revolution took place, that time throughout the whole country, the industries are set up. Now when the industry sets up, what happens? The continuously emission of smoke from the industries allows those lichens to die, because lichens are the organisms which can grow only in the pollution free places. Now due to Industrial Revolution, lots of pollution occurs. Now the lichens which are covering over the tree, those lichens dies. Now when this white moth sits on the brown color stem of the tree, automatically they are identified by their predators. So white moths are captured by the predators and eaten. Now the advantage came to whom? The black moth. What happened to the black moth? The tree trunk is brown in color, black moth is also dark in color. Now when the dark moth sits on a dark background, that is the stem of the tree or the trunk of the tree, they are camouflaged and the predators are not at all catching them. So what happened? After the Industrial Revolution, it was found that the population of black moth increased and it has outnumbered, it has outpaced the population of the white moth. But again in 1956 the twist came. What happened? Clean Air Act was applied on the applied on UK by the UK government. And that time again the industries and all, though they were working, but they took necessary precautions to not to spread pollution. And now what happened? The things changed again. Again the lichens started to grow on the tree. Lichens are white in color. White moth sits on the white lichens on the tree, camouflaged. The enemy cannot capture them. Again the black moth sits on the white lichens but not camouflaged. There is a huge contrast. Easily the black moths were identified and now they are captured and eaten by their prey. Again the population of the white moth or the peppered moth has increased and it has outnumbered the population of the black moth. So this is what a vivid example of Darwin's natural selection. Whenever the nature changes, it is selecting its own members and it is selecting those organisms which are well enough or which are well developed enough, which are well enough fit to survive in the conditions. That's the reason why the industrial melanism is a very good example on context to Darwin's natural selection. I hope you can understand. Please go through the video properly. If you can't understand, you can ask me the doubt. Thanks a lot.